was this whole thing between Israel and Iran? As you know, let me give you a little bit of a background. Obviously, Israel retaliated the actions of Iran. So what happens here is Israel already originally bombed the embassy of Iran in Lebanon, killed a couple of their main guys in that bombing episode. Iran retaliated by sending between all kinds of missiles to a lot of drones, so almost 300 once you put it all together, that were taken down by the not only the Iron Dome of Israel, but also with the support of Saudi Arabia, Jordan, who's a Palestinian state, Jordan, United Kingdom, and United States. All of this coalition essentially came to help. There was almost no significant impact that took place on a scenario like that. You're expecting to see a lot more people die. Mind you, Lorena, I think you were literally making fun of the fact that when I said Iran is going to take action more than likely in the next 48 hours, you literally said so much for the surprise factor on this whole thing. I remember you making a comment.
Right,
What happened?
yeah.
What happened with surprise?
It was a surprise attack.
So let me. I want to give you a perspective of what I'm trying to tell you here, right? So Iran telegraphed, "Hey, we are going to attack you." Gave them about 48 hours to prepare. Then Israel literally said, "We're going to have to attack you back," and also gave them about another 48 hours to attack. Went into areas where you know, especially the nuclear program is being developed, without essentially destroying the reactors that have been built, but kind of got close enough. But they announced the whole thing with plenty of anticipation. They went in and essentially hit anywhere between 7 to 9 cities, very close to Tehran, very close to. They also did that the day of the birthday of the president of Iran. So sending different messages. What do you conclude with these things? Because to me, I'm gonna tell you my position. It's extremely disturbing, the whole situation. I'm glad that you didn't see a lot of people dying, because unfortunately, wars are always planned and organized by demagogues and politicians that will never fight them. And unfortunately, is our young men and women that are out there losing their lives, and there's a lot of innocent people that will be dying out of this thing. A lot of innocent people on both sides that will be dying out of this whole thing. But at the end, it just is feeling like a horrible game that people are playing. What's your take on this, guys?
Yeah. I mean, my take on it is we didn't have any wars 4 years ago. That's the bottom line. I mean, what is happening here? And you're absolutely right. You even going back to the whole Hamas situation, right? You had word that Israel got feedback that an attack, an imminent attack, was going to take place, and no preparation. So the attack happens, and now you're attacking now the Hamas. Innocent lives are being taken on both sides of the fence, and it's just really, if you're not focused and paying attention to what's taking place, it could really just allow you to say, "Oh, these are just people just having a war." But if you take a moment and you exactly what you're stating here, right? 48 hours notice on both sides. Is this being planned? Can I just say it? Is this being planned? Is this on purpose? Is this happening on purpose for further things to take place? You have Putin who met with Iran in 2023. You got China having conversations with Iran. That right there is an alliance, right? Are they actually looking for more war to take place? Because when war takes place, hey, people make a lot of money. People make a lot of money. So it's a little confusing. I think we just got to really focus and understand what is going on. And like we stated before, just speak on this a little bit more. But I'm at a loss with what really truly is going on. So I'm interested to hear what Lorena's take is on this.
$95 billion are headed on its way to Ukraine and Israel. So for me, it's just money. You know, this is a war just creates a lot of wealth for the people. And Marvin, you said for the not for the people, for politicians, because it definitely doesn't create wealth for the men and women that are out there serving our country. And again, the U.S. is busy fighting every war out there. For me, I'm very pro, like, let's hang out and fix our stuff here for a minute. We have no business. You cannot give something that you don't have right now. And so we're concerned about providing safety, and that's a principle of life, right? We're concerned about providing safety overseas in other places. By the way, my heart goes out to the people of Israel and Iran, by the way, that are like terrified because they're civilians that have nothing to do with the war, that have nothing to do with all of these attacks, that are being affected, and they have to wonder if they're gonna live to see another day. But at the end of the day, my heart does go out to them. At the end of the day, my number one priority is here. We have stuff happening at the border. You know, we have a bunch of people here that are chanting death to America, which I am all for freedom of speech, but that is not okay. You know, so we're concerned about looking everywhere else but in the United States. $95 billion was just approved. Again, for me, this is just a massive money laundering scheme happening right in front of our eyes. And unfortunately, there is nothing that we can do about it right at this second. But we do have something to say about it. Really be vocal, talk about it, and get out and freaking vote. You know, make sure that you're putting the right people on the table, not on the ballots, in offices right now, not on the ballots. They're already doing their part to make sure that they're in the ballot. We just have to make sure that we put them in office, just so that we don't have to continue dealing with all of these things. And Jason was absolutely right. 4 years ago, this wasn't an issue. And so how is it that is happening right now? I'll say it again. Elections and policies have bad consequences. And so it really does trickle down for everybody that whines and complains about the trickle down.
Listen, here's a couple of things that I want to bring to your attention in connection to this. First of all, you know, the administration support for Israel for the first time is a conditional support, something that we never seen from any previous administration. That language alone, if you don't do this or if you don't do that, and you can also see that it is having an impact on the behavior of Israel. That's a very unfortunate thing to say, which I don't know if it is okay. You remember when Joe Biden was saying, if you don't vote for me or if you're planning to vote for Donald Trump, you're not black enough, right? Is this one of those moments? Is it okay to tell the Jewish community, if you don't vote for Donald Trump, you're not Jewish enough? I mean, is it what is this? Like this is the kind of craziness that we have going on. But maybe in my head, when I'm looking into the survival of a state that is essentially the only democracy in the area, that is essentially, whether we like it or not, we are connected to the hip. In a way that whatever they do wrong, we become responsible for whatever they do right. No, we don't get credit for it, but whatever we do wrong, if we do something to support anything, it's always somewhere somehow connected to the evil agenda that you have going on. But here's what's actually happening, though, because I was extremely surprised that the first sequence of official comments from the Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, was literally to say, we got last minute announcement from Israel that we're going to do the attack, essentially saying we didn't know much about it. And then he said, and we have nothing to do with it on terms of who are you signaling? What are you trying? You don't want to get Iran angry? Is that what you're saying? That is the weakest statement ever made by a Secretary of State in connection to Israel, opposed to saying, hey, listen, they got to do whatever they got to do to defend themselves and go through a process. Your first thing to say is like, hey, listen, they told us the last minute. We didn't know what was going on until like last second. And then you're going to say, we have nothing to do with it. Why did you even have to say that? Why don't you just leave the question mark? Did this guy got involved, help, gave up? Because whether Secretary of State Blinken likes it or not, there still is some level of intelligence that we have to provide. There's still some level that, listen, they still have to have to go through the airspace of Jordan, Saudi Arabia. They still, I mean, this is not, you know what I mean? It's something that it requires the participation of other people. You can't keep that quiet. You can't ignore it. But here's my original point. When the number one issue for a lot of people is to stay in power instead of solving an issue, what you see is there are people questioning as to whether or not some people, specifically Benjamin Netanyahu, who I absolutely have a favorable opinion. The history of this man. If I was born an Israeli, if I was born in Israel, if I grew up there, I can look at this man essentially as a superhero. If you look at the life history of this guy, this is a guy that took a bullet. He's defending his country. His brother was killed in one of those missions. I mean, this is a remarkable who has been very consistent about arguing and fighting for the survival of Israel from the time that he was able to be in front of the public eye. If you can go back to a 28 years old Benjamin Netanyahu making the exact same statement, same position, nothing has changed. But once you go into the game of politics and you got to survive that game, and this is a guy who's been accused of corruption, right? This is a guy that has been accused of, this is a guy who came very close to literally getting arrested. And then you're saying, okay, so you managed to get yourself back in power. How do you stay in power? Well, how do you remove somebody that makes it very clear that they love their country at the time that the country is going through a crisis, especially when it comes to military actions, terrorist activity? I mean, and then you go to Israel, to Iran, right? What Iran ended up doing was either two things. Either they showed that they really have a weaker military structure to be able to attack these guys, or they only did enough to let their own people see, it's like this is a government that now is telling their own Iranian people, see, we did something. We went ahead there and we did all of this, and it was more damage, just to show to their own people. Meaning the target was not the target. The target was to literally propaganda and marketing for their own people to say we still have the strength and the power to go and attack Israel. I hate to tell you this. I don't know how much you used to misbehave when you were younger,
No comment.
but I was a professional at it. I was really good at it. And so there was a time where I was involved in playing soccer at an elementary level, and we were able to participate now at a national level, right? So school, after winning the state, you know what I mean? Now we were participating and playing against the guys from the other state that was also the number one. So now we were going, this is the finals essentially, right? We're staying in hotels, and we also knew that part of the team were guys that loved to misbehave just as much as we did. Mm-hmm. So we wanted to make sure they didn't even know which room we were actually staying. But somewhere, somehow, they will always find out. There was always, of course, because it was part of the fun, right? Somebody will give us away, like they stay in a room, whatever. So, you're kind of ready to go to sleep, and somebody's banging in the wrong door, like, bah, 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 and you will come out to see who it was. Nobody was there. What Israel ended up doing like that right now, it feels a little bit like that. Was like showing up to Iran, letting them know, hey, we even know where your reactors happen to be. Yeah. We're gonna bomb around it a little bit just to knock on the door so that you know that we were here, but we're still not gonna take you out. Why didn't they take them out? Mm-hmm. Oh, there's the fear that it's gonna be a bigger conflict. We being over simple when it comes. You don't understand the consequences of. I'm gonna tell you what I do know. When nothing is done about it, all you're doing is you're allowing the same people who already hurt you once to develop the strength and the tools needed to hurt you again.